Okay, now we'll be doing block 2 of CFN1, which is food. Know your food, you and your food. So in block 2 we have from unit 6 to unit 10. First coming to unit 6. Okay, it deals with let us choose the right food. How to choose the right food? First of all, as I have mentioned earlier, socio-cultural beliefs and practices has a major role in selection of food and our food acceptance. So based on that, we have to choose the food so that we can maintain our diet, our nutrition, as well as all the religious beliefs and cultural beliefs which we need to follow or which we want to follow. Next, coming to seasonal foods. See, it is always advisable to have fresh fruits and vegetables, so it's better to have the ones which are seasonal, or else nowadays we get all types of food the entire year, but what happens is it's from the cold storage, which is not as healthy as the seasonal ones. So we should be keeping in mind that we should be having seasonal foods, like maybe we can have parval during summer and cabbage and cauliflower in winter, because these are the seasons for these type of foods. And even in case of fruits also, we should go for fresh and seasonal foods. Now what is locally available? Again, coming to the community and the location and the weather which we belong to. If we find something which is more grown in our locality, like for example, if I try eating a fruit, I'll prefer eating guava than apple, because apple is not cultured in or maybe farmed in Kolkata, and it is done in the hilly areas. And if we find guava over here, which is more fresh for us because it is grown locally over here, so that way also we can have that. Okay, the next point is we have to choose something or which is inexpensive. So we can't go for something which is very much expensive, because that won't be a feasible option. So that if we keep on having something very expensive, then that can be continued for long. Next, coming to food stuff rich in more than one nutrients. Of course, if we take something which is nutritious enough, and if we go through the if we tend to eat nutritious ones, homemade ones, then that is preferable more than the ones which have lower nutrition. So that way what happens, we can keep up to our health, and also our selection of food is easier for us. Now, combination of food, one more thing. Now, what is combination of food? Say for example, we are having khichdi. Now, khichdi is a combination food as it contains cereal and pulses both, and sometimes vegetables also. So this is a combination food. Or idli. Normally we take idli with sambar, or sometimes, and the batter also consists of a rice and a dal, which is cereal and pulses, and these type of foods are called combination foods. So we come to an end of chapter number 6. Now we are going to chapter number 7. How healthy are our meal patterns? See, the foods which we commonly consume and which is a staple is more effective for us than if we take something from the western or something from other side. If I tend to eat jowar over here, so that is not basically a very good option for me, because in this climate wheat is better for us than jowar bajra. Even if we keep on eating bread every day and avoid atta maida, then not maida, basically atta, then that way also it doesn't help, because we should be choosing something which is which is commonly used in our country, not in other. Every location wise it changes. Next, we come to our meal patterns, vegetarian and non-vegetarian. See, this I need not explain, because some of us, due to some beliefs or maybe due to their own wish. We can choose the food between vegetarian and non-vegetarian ones, so it is up to our choice. So this doesn't have any impactful, and there is no such thing that if we eat vegetarian food we will lack in something, and if we eat non-vegetarian food we gain something or lack something. So that is not true. Of course there are certain differences in nutrients of these type of food, but we can get all types of things from here, from all the foods. Okay, one more thing is very important is nutritional inadequacy in our diet. See, sometimes what happens after making a platter of food or whatever we are eating at home, it is not nutritionally adequate based on our clinical requirements. So that needs to be taken care of, and that can be only taken care by a dietitian or a suggestion by a dietitian. And nowadays, after you complete your studies, even you will be able to judge the thing that how the entire platter is nutritionally adequate. Or maybe normally what we say is the entire day's meal should be nutritionally adequate, so that if we lack something in the morning we can gain that in the evenings, and that way vice versa it can go. By this we come to an end of chapter number 7. Now let's go to chapter number 8. Let us ensure taste and nutrient retention. See, of course, if we can manage that, if we can get the taste what we want, and also it is nutritionally adequate enough, then that way it is the best thing which we can do. Like if we are eating something which is not so tasty, but if the presentation is done in such a way that it becomes tasty, like sometimes chopping and cutting changes the taste or look of the dish, so that way. Or maybe if we grind something and make something out of which is not very tasty while we eat it all together in a whole manner, so that way if we change the taste and we get it nutritionally adequate meal we intake, so that way it will be more helpful for us. So there are many types of processes by which we can cook. First of all, by feeling it, maybe we can feel the texture and we can decide. Then cutting, pounding, which is like making a powder out of it. Then grinding, soaking, mixing, sprouting. These all are types of food preparation. Okay, now what are the steps of food preparation? First of all, cleaning. We should be cleaning the items. Then peeling it. All vegetables and fruits should be peeled well. Then cutting. Then pounding, which means smashing it or making it in an edible form. Then soaking as in if you are in case of rice, soaking is very important. Sprouting, we can have sprouts, that is sprouts of chana or maybe moong or anything of that sort. So that is very helpful for us and healthy also, and it is a very wholesome meal also. So sprouting is a very important part in preparation. Then mixing, we can mix 2 or 3 type of things to make a dish taste well. Fermentation, like idli, dosa, these all are types of fermentation. So these type of cooking methods can be used. Now coming to a specific type of cooking methods, and which can be classified in moist heat method and dry heat method, which is if we use water or if we use only heat to prepare it. So what comes under moist heat method? First is boiling, then shimmering, that is if we cook it in very low flame. Then blanching, when we don't boil it, but we when the water just starts boiling, we take it out and the bad things or the bad portions of the dirt and everything goes out, and some part of color also goes out, but it is not boiled or it is not soft enough, it is crunchy till then. Okay, then steaming of course we know we eat momos, we can eat there are a lot, even rice is steamed. Pressure cooking, when we need the entire heat to be equally distributed in entire process, at that time we do pressure cooking. Poaching, if we boil something in water but we don't want the water to eat, so that is a type of poaching which also helps in denaturation of protein. Stewing, stew is something which we boil with a very low amount of masala, and it is a gentle cooking in a tight pan, so that the aroma is still there and the nutrients are still there, but it is cooked, it is not the raw one. Now coming to dry heat method, first is roasting, then grilling, then baking. See, roasting, we can roast any kind of chicken or anything. Grill also, we can eat kebabs and everything, and we can grill them. Baking, we bake cakes, right? So this is a type of cooking. Some other methods are sauteing. When we fry something at a very low oil, we just brush oil into the pan or into the food, and we just fry it on that way. It is in between burning and frying. It is something in between that. Frying, of course, we can fry it in oil. It can be deep oil frying, it can be light oil frying. Okay. Now coming to effect of pre-cooking methods on quality of food. First is peeling. Most of the vitamins and flavor compounds in the fruits and vegetables are water soluble. These also lie near the peel or skin. In peeling method, the moisture comes to the surface and some of these elements are lost. This is why peeled food lost their flavor quickly. We don't we advise people not to keep peeled things for long, right? And this is the reason. Then cutting and chopping. One more thing which I missed. There are certain things which we should keep in mind while peeling. Peel only if it is a must. If we can eat the peel, then it is good for us. Peel just before cooking, of course. Peel as thinly as possible so that the flesh or the inside matter stays as much as we can. Wash food well and drain before peeling, of course. Never wash after peeling. Now coming to cutting and chopping. See, cutting and chopping is very common in any kind of food preparation, and based on the size and slicing or cutting or what kind of a cut it is giving, the taste changes. So this needs to be taken care of, and also sometimes due to this process of cutting and this slicing, chopping, everything, there are sometimes nutrients are lost, so we should be knowing what should be done in which manner. There are certain points which should be kept in mind. Cut after washing or straight after peeling. Cut into medium sized pieces and not very small ones. Don't expose cut foods to air for long. Of course, peeling and cutting, this point is same. Don't leave the food too long after cooking. Use stainless steel knives, choppers or slicers to maintain natural color, of course. Cut with a sharp knife to get even edges and good shapes. Now coming to pounding. Pounding, as in if you dry something and then you make a powder out of it from a mortar and a pestle, then that is called pounding, and it enhances the taste of that particular food item. Grinding is a bit different because we can grind something into powder or sometimes into particles, smaller particles also, but pounding is beaten, or what we say, we can beat it and mash it, but it is a dry thing. Now coming to soaking, I've already mentioned about soaking sprouts and everything. So to soak in a small amount of water to cover the foods. If you soak something, then you should be covering it. Don't soak it for too long, and not to throw away soaking liquid, but because sometimes the liquid contains the nutrients which comes out of that particular food. Okay, now coming to sprouting. Sprouting I have mentioned earlier. We eat sprouts because the germination happens, and vitamin B and C foods are, vitamin B and C is enhanced in the diet, in the food during that sprouting process. Fermentation, like idli, dosa, these are all fermented products, and it also has a medicinal value. Mixing, if we mix certain things, we enhance the taste as well as the nutrient quality. So that way what happens, these are the food preparation methods. Now coming to effects of cooking methods on food. I have already mentioned all effects along with while I was telling you about the methods, so I won't repeat it much. So we come to the end of chapter number 8, and now coming to chapter number 9, that is, let us make food safe to eat. Okay, Food safety is something which should be taken care of. Of course, we should cover it. We should be hygienic enough while cooking the food and preparation. So, some precautions for food hygiene: wash your hands with soap and water and wipe them with a clean cloth before walking with food. Keep your nails short and clean. If you have any cuts or wounds on hands or fingers, cover them with dressing before handling food. If you have any septic cuts or other infection, you should not handle food. Do not touch hair, nose or any other part of the body while working with food. You must avoid sneezing and coughing over the food. Do not lick fingers in between for tasting food. And if you use a spoon for tasting, do not return it to the food without washing. You must keep the whole place clean, including the utensils and the dishes in which you prepare and serve the food. To keep the food free of flies and dust, you must keep the soaked and cut foods covered and use waste bins with lids. While serving food, you must not touch the food surface with hands. So these are something which is required to keep the hygienicity of the food. Now coming to prevention and spread from disease. See, prevention of disease through food, of course. Food poisoning and these type of things can happen. Even enteritis or typhoid, paratyphoid, dysentery, these type of things can happen through food. So we should take care of that. Water should be clean. Even water is a good contaminant, and it can cause many types of diseases like cholera and these type of diseases. Utensils. The utensils should be clean enough so that no microorganism grows in it to create food poisoning or something like that. Okay. Food handling should be done in a clean manner so that whoever is handling the food, from her hands should be clean. The place where the food is kept should be clean. So these all things can be maintained to keep the food safe. So this is all about chapter number 9. Now coming to chapter number 10. How to preserve the food. See, there are many types of preservation methods, and let's classify the foods into perishability. There are certain foods which are non-perishable, which do not spoil easily, like cereal, pulses, oil seeds. I'm talking about the raw one. Now semi-perishable food which can be kept for a week or maybe a month's time, and perishable which can be kept for a day or two, like milk products or maybe meat, fish, all these type of things. So based on that, we need to preserve it. Preservation is required because processed food add variety to the meal. We enjoy eating pickles with our meals. Food produced in excess can be preserved and used later in the year when it is expensive and not available. Tomatoes can be processed into sauce when they are cheap and available in plenty. Processed food can be transported to areas where food is not grown or available. Processed food make transportation and storage of food easy as they reduce the bulk and occupy less space. Processed foods are an asset during times like wars, famine, flood, where people need large amount of food. Okay. Now coming to food spoilage. What causes food spoilage? First of all, microorganism. Secondly, enzyme action. Thirdly, insect and rodent damage. Fourthly, basically coming to these 3 points. These are the main 3 points. So these type of things happens, and this causes food spoilage. So we should take care of that. Okay, methods of preserving perishable and semi-perishable food. One is cold storage. If we lower down the temperature, we freeze it so we can preserve the food like that. We do in refrigerators normally at home. Okay, then freezing. That is like the temperature should be lesser, like maybe select the foods and quantity which needs more lower temperature to be preserved, so that way freezing and cold storage thing happens. Refrigeration, as I was telling you, is also a type of preservation. Now coming to heat treatment, like boiling, sterilization, pasteurization, canning, these all are the heat treatments which needs to be done while preserving certain foods. See, pasteurization is done in case of milk, and canning can be done while we are exporting something for a very long distance. Dehydration. Now if you remove the moisture from the food, microorganism contamination lessens down, so because they won't be getting any media to grow, so So dehydration is also a part of like food preservation, or type of food preservation. Coming to chemical preservation, see, using salt and sugar is a type of chemical preservation. Then using acids, using oils and wax, which we normally do in achars. Okay, use of chemical preservatives are also there to preserve the food. Okay. Salt and sugar is added to many types of achar and chutneys to preserve it. Acid like lemon juice. Lemon juice is a type of acid, so we use it as a preservative. Use of oil and wax, I told you, we seal it with oil or wax so that no microorganism can grow. And of course, chemical preservatives are used. Now radiation. Sometimes gamma rays and ultraviolet rays helps us in preservation. These all can be dependent on each type of food needs each type or respective types of preservation technique. All foods can be preserved in the same manner. So this needs to be understood. Methods of storing non-perishable food. Okay, what are the methods? Clean and thoroughly dry the pulse and grains. Okay, store in clean and dry airtight containers. Add indigenous substances like neem leaves, turmeric, or coat the pulses and grains with oil to protect them with microorganisms and insects. Ensure that the room in which you are storing the food is well ventilated and free from leakages, cracks and crevices. To prevent rodent attack, you may use baits and traps. Check the stored grains and pulses periodically. Take care not to mix up old stock with the fresh one. So by this we come to an end of this block and chapter number 10 as well. In the next video we will go to block 3 and then block 4 of CFN1. Thank you.